Hey, welcome to the We're Better Together podcast. I'm Ian Stevenson.
And I'm Daniel Arduña. We come from different backgrounds, but we're working together. So our goal is to help you navigate being better together in the various sectors of your life by bringing you a once-a-month interview and some stimulating thoughts on the weeks in between.
We hope this podcast keeps you tracking on building something better together, whether it's your marriage, your family, your workplace. We want to serve you. So here's today's episode.
We're here for another 10-minute tune-up today. And today we want to look at this idea of practical, relational, and spiritual. So Ian, I think we're going to take a first step into this practical realm. Let's start this conversation and help our audience to maybe grab something today.
Yeah, we did on our second podcast, we talked about the kind of mantra of focus, adjust, and persevere. And what we're talking about today is kind of building off of that, because the practical side of working together is sort of the focus. Like, what are you practically doing together? Like, that practical thing is what brings you together. I think about guy we just interviewed, and you guys will get to hear about an awesome interview with Jeff Fishney, who talked about, loving your city and this city serve day. Well, that brings people together. It's a very practical thing. But I think even like in marriages and families, there's practical things you can do that help bring unity, that help bring you together. Like, so Daniel, how did you meet your wife? Like, what was it, at an event or?
Met her at a church doing youth ministry together. So that idea of youth ministry, something practical to be a part of, and we meet each other in that realm.
Right. And that's generally where it all starts, right? There's something practical. So the more intentional we are about some practical things that we can do that will bring us together, the more chance of unity that we have. An example would be, even in a marriage, would be like a date night, right? You plan a practical thing. Why? So you can be better together. And we need that at every level. So whether it's your team, whether it's your family, whether it's your church, your community, when you plan something intentionally, a practical thing to pull people together, if you're not doing that, if you're not in a rhythm of coming up with some practical things, there's going to be drift. There's going to be things that fall apart. Like for a team, it would be a game. Like, right? A game is a practical thing. They're coming to win together. It's the same principle.
Yeah, I think those practical things give you opportunity.
Yeah.
So by having that practical, now you have an opportunity to work together, or to see if you can work together, or to have relational as we step into that at some point here soon. So yeah, those practical things create opportunities.
Why don't you comment a little bit on the relational side? Like, how does that take it to another level?
Yeah, so I think once you have that practical thing that brings you together, now you have the opportunity for there to be relationships, relational aspect to what is going on. So in some of your examples, I meet my wife at youth ministry, starting out as friends. Now we have opportunity to build relationship and get to know each other. For a team, practice, a game, gives you opportunity now to come together and actually build relationship that now kind of takes you to the next level. So if we had that first step, which is this initial engagement into something, now I have the opportunity to start building relationships that would allow for me to start going a little bit deeper, which is hopefully something that helps you to be able to work better together. Now I've got some understanding of who it is. I have some idea of who it is. I know things about the people that I'm working with or engaging in whatever this activity is.
Yeah, and that's where the adjusting comes into play too, right? From focus, adjust, persevere, the adjust segment is really relational. Like, you got to adjust in that space. You got to forgive. You got to extend grace. You got to give understanding. You got to adjust. Like, everything's not going to be your way or the highway if you're going to work together. You got to kind of adjust your and even what you're thinking is possible in the midst of the conversation. So I think that's where that whole adjusting piece comes into play as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then the third part of this little trilogy is the spiritual side of it. And, sometimes when we think of spiritual, we think about church and religion and all that kind of stuff. But that's really not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the spirit of the group coming together, right? Like, so sometimes there can be a spirit of pride or arrogance in that team, or isolate, there's a spirit. And then other times there's a spirit of, man, like, we're a team, we're in this together. There's like this camaraderie. And so there's a spiritual component to working together that has to be nurtured. Just like the practical and the relational has to be nurtured, the spirit of working together has to be nurtured, whether it's your marriage, your family, whatever it is. And the coaches and the people who have awesome marriages and awesome families who are really working well together, they figure out how to nurture that spiritual side of things, right? Can you think of some examples of where you've seen that nurtured really well in any of those spaces?
Yeah, I can think of both sides. I mean, I can think about how with sports teams that I've been a part of, how you have this tension of, am I about individual accomplishment or am I about the team accomplishment within this? And so I think I have had times where I've seen a bunch of individuals come together and you see a lot of variation of talent. But when they say we want to be about something bigger than ourselves, we want to be about the team accomplishment, and you have those conversations saying, here's where we want the end to be. We're starting here. Our goal is to get to this. And so are we all about that? I think you see a huge difference when a team can grab that idea and create that kind of spirit versus a team that says, hey, we're full of individuals who may be extremely talented, but they just care about their own personal accomplishments. Yeah. And I think that's been a huge difference for me in any athletics that I've been a part of. And you can see how on one side, the individualism could tear apart. On the other side, when you say we're chasing after this as a team, not only do I think I've seen times where that has bonded everyone, but I've seen that also help individuals to grow in the midst of that process.
Yeah, so good, man. What you said about something bigger than yourself, something bigger than the team, that's what really raises the spirit up when you're drawing from something that's greater than you. And I think that's where the God part can figure in to the whole spiritual side of things, because sometimes in the midst of this whole journey of trying to work together, you get tired, you want to give up. This is where persevere comes into, focus, adjust, persevere. Like if you don't have the spiritual strength, you will not persevere. So what is your source of that spiritual strength? Like, you've got to be able to draw from something bigger than yourself that can help keep you in the game when the going gets tough, when you feel like giving up, when you don't want to work together anymore. And that's where I think a relationship with God really comes into play, because if you really have a relationship with God and you're willing to be open to his instruction and his love and his forgiveness and his mercy, then it allows you to be able to extend that in the context of your endeavor, whether it's your marriage, your team, whatever. But if you're not drawing from that well, something way bigger than you, something that, then you're not going to persevere. You're going to give up, right? You're going to quit because you're just done. And that's what I see happen so many times, like in marriages and even on teams. Like, the teams that really do well are the ones that they've got just this spirit of, like, there's something bigger they're drawing from, like you said.
Yeah, Ian, to close us out in this 10-minute tune-up, what about for you? What's the way that you've seen this that you could leave our listeners with to give them a tangible look at how this plays out?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I worked at the same place, a church, for 27 years. And even at that church, there were seasons over the course of that 27 years where we were more united. We were working better together than at other times. And I'd say the times we were working really well together were when there was a very practical hill we were climbing together. Our relationships were strong and our spirit was strong. Like we had good rhythms together of really drawing, like, what is it we're drawing from? Why is it we're doing this? and so it was bigger than us, just like you said. And so for me, I've seen this in real life. So I can't wait to interview some people about this, and actually the next interview we're doing is with a couple that are working with families and helping them work better together in families. So they've got some great insight that I think will flow right out of this. So you don't want to miss our next interview at the beginning of March. It's going to be with Ben and Megan Glassman. It's a great interview. We've actually already done it, and just some good stuff. So don't miss that one. And all these little 10-minute tune-ups will help build towards that.
Thank you for joining us again today, and look forward to the stuff that we will be sending out here soon.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in today. If there's anything you heard today that was helpful to you, that you think might be helpful to somebody else,
please like, subscribe, and share this podcast so we can help others be better together as well.